Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing your ex thinks this after months apart. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing your ex thinks this after months apart. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you are likely to be apart for many months. Even if you are to get your ex back, it is likely to be a long journey. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 things that your ex is almost certainly thinking. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is option 1. So today we're going to be speaking about the different options of what your ex-dumper is likely thinking if you have been apart for many months. And the first option is that they're probably thinking, leave me alone. Now you might hear that and think, well, how does this connect to my situation? Well, let me just explain what I mean by option 1. Option 1 is if you have been chasing your ex. Now, chasing your ex doesn't necessarily mean that you are contacting them every single day. It certainly doesn't necessarily mean that you're physically chasing them. Okay, that would be quite scary indeed. Now, this is something a little broader where we speak about chasing an ex, meaning if you are not taking no for an answer, if you are not accepting their decision, if you don't take on board the fact that they have ended the relationship. Now, of course, at the time of a breakup, you can say your piece. You can explain why you think this relationship should continue. You can apologize if necessary, and you can try to understand what is going on and how it can be sorted out. But when the dust settles, you must accept the breakup. Even if you want to get your ex back, this is the only way you stand a chance of reconnecting further down the line. But if you don't listen to that advice, if instead you text, you call, you knock on their door, and as I said, it doesn't have to be every single day. You might think, well, I'm not chasing my ex. I just send them a text once a month. That's all I do. Well, unfortunately, most dumpers are still going to see this as chasing. And if you chase your ex, they will be thinking, option 1, as we're calling it in today's podcast, they will be thinking, leave me alone. They will be thinking, start respecting me. They will be thinking, stop bothering me. Those are the things which are going to come into their mind during the months as they tick by if you continue to chase your ex. If you continue to not listen to what they are saying. And this is what I meant when I said a moment ago, start respecting me. Because a dumper might think you are not respecting their decision. Now you as a dumpee might think, well, I don't care for what you're saying. I don't want to respect your decision. I want to get back together. But just listen to yourself for a moment. If you're thinking like that, when you're making it all about your perspective, and right now you are worried, but this is all about your ex-dumper's perspective. The reality is both of you need to want to be together for this to be possible. So if your ex doesn't feel it right now, it doesn't matter, unfortunately, what you think, because you can't force them to be with you. So this isn't about making it just about the dumper, it's just speaking about the reality that to be together, you must both want to. And if they don't want to be with you, and you are trying to beg, plead, reason for them to be with you beyond the point of where it is understandable, well, this is where we could be arguing that you are not listening to them, you are not respecting them. And if they believe you are not respecting them, do you really think they're going to want to get back with you? Do you really think they're going to want to get back with you into a relationship if they believe you do not respect their decision? The likelihood is they won't. The likelihood is they will think, my ex-dumpee doesn't respect me, they're not listening to me, they keep bothering me, they won't leave me alone. And this is on top of the reasons at the end of a relationship in the first place. Remember, the reality is that your ex-dumper lost romantic emotional attraction for you. This is why they are the dumper. This is why you are the dumpee. This is why you are apart. So if they don't believe you're right for one another in this moment in time, do you really think it's going to help you if you keep bothering them, if you keep disrespecting them by not listening to them, if you won't leave them alone when that is what they are asking? Is that going to help your cause? And I think right now you can probably see the likelihood is that it won't. And this is why point number one, when we're talking about after months apart, your ex thinks this, we have to consider the first option. We have to consider the things that perhaps you don't really want to, which is they're probably thinking, leave me alone if you keep chasing them. So now let's get into point number two and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have a new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number two is, what is my ex doing? So now we're going to consider the perspective opposite to what we've just spoke of. In point number one, we were speaking about the possibility that you keep chasing your ex post-breakup, and they come to the reality where your ex-dumper is thinking, please leave me alone. But what if instead of chasing your ex, you do the opposite? What if you don't chase? What if you implement my version of the no contact rule? Well, this is where your ex-dumper, after many months, is going to be thinking, well, what is my ex doing? What are they doing right now? Now, does this mean your dumper is going to think of this instantly? No, they probably won't be. Well, maybe after a breakup, maybe a few days or weeks, they will actually obviously wonder what you are doing, but they will then move into something which I refer to as the single honeymoon period, which is going to take their mind away from you. That's the reality. That's what we have to accept. When somebody ends a relationship, they will move into this period that I call the single honeymoon period, and they will be living a life they felt they couldn't do within the relationship. Now, maybe this is seeing old friends that they never got a chance to see during your relationship. Maybe you didn't really like those friends. Maybe it was a time and distance thing, but now your ex-dumper is reconnecting with those friends. Perhaps they are living experiences, things that they couldn't do because of time, distance, or the fact they were in a relationship. This might be going to clubs, parties, classes, maybe, unfortunately, dating new people. Although dumpees, don't be too worried, because if your ex-dumper dates anybody new within the first year or so post-breakup, the odds on it lasting forevermore are very, very low. Can I guarantee they won't be with that person forever? Well, no, I can't guarantee it. Nobody can. But statistically, it is likely to fail. So if you hear your ex-dumper is dating, please don't get too worried. Don't freak out. Unfortunately, it's happening, but you're going to just have to let it take its course, run its course, and it will likely end. But we're now considering what your ex-dumper is doing once they go beyond that single honeymoon period, or certainly towards the end of it. Every single honeymoon period will take a different length of time. I suggest it takes an average of around 6 months, could be 6 to 12 months. But what happens maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months post-breakup, when your ex-dumper might be approaching the end of this experience, when the things they were trying now seem kind of boring? Everything which was once new becomes old. It's not really that cool anymore. The people they're spending time with have now made their own new connections, and they've started to do their own thing. When your ex-dumper gets to this stage, they're going to be more likely to be wondering what you're doing. What is my ex-dumpee doing? But I haven't really heard from them. And even though I didn't want to hear from them consciously, subconsciously, I expected that they wouldn't be able to resist. I expected that they're going to chase me even though I don't want them to. So if you haven't dumpees, if you haven't been chasing them, then as they move through that single honeymoon period, and there'll be moments throughout, even when they are really within this new experience that they're having, they're still going to have moments of kind of wondering where you are, but in particular, as they really get towards the end, of the single honeymoon period, they'll be thinking more and more about you. What is my ex-dumpee doing? Are they dating someone new? I can't believe they haven't reached out. I didn't really want them to, but I still thought they would. So what are they doing? And why? I can't get my head around this. Okay, what are they doing? And if your ex-dumper can get into this mindset, this starts to build intrigue. It starts to build wonder. And this is how romantic emotional attraction can start to slowly but surely rebuild in your ex-dumper's mind. You might think, well, what does that matter? Well, it matters hugely, because they ended the relationship when this level of attraction dropped to the necessary low point. And the only reason they will consider reconnecting with you is if this attraction rebuilds and hits the necessary high point. So slowly but surely, thinking about you, wondering about you, missing you can change into romantic emotional attraction, slowly building day by day, week by week, month by month. And if it hits that high point, this is when they might reach out to you. And that, of course, is what you want. If you want to get your ex back, you need that moment to take place. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website, www.dateme.tips, for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is my life any better now? Now, this is something really, really important if you want to try to get your ex back. And when we are speaking about your ex thinks this after months apart, this is something that I refer to as the crossroads. In point number 2, we were speaking about how they can regrow romantic emotional attraction, and if it hits the necessary high point, this is when they might consider reaching out to you. But there is another element at play, which, if anything, is even more crucial, and that is when they question themselves, is my life any better now? This is something your ex-dumper is going to ask themselves. They can try and run away from this question for as long as they like, but eventually, even putting their head in the sand, trying to dodge this, eventually they will have to get to this point where they look into the metaphorical mirror and wonder, have I made the right choice? Was this the right decision? Now, when this takes place will depend on your ex-dumper's own life journey. It could be, technically, at any point in any stage, but generally, it ties in with leaving the single honeymoon period, there or thereabouts. So we're probably looking at that 6 to 12 month mark. We're probably looking in and around that period of time where your ex-dumper is going to be asking themselves a very important question. Now, if they come to the conclusion that their life is better now, post-breakup, then unfortunately at this time, they are not going to be reaching out to you. Now, if you're a dumpee who has lived their life the best way they could, and you have been regrown romantic emotional attraction in your ex's mind, then sadly, they might still come to that conclusion that right now, they don't want to reach out because their own life, in their belief, is going quite well. However, this romantic emotional attraction that you have built is going to be something which can continue to build in the background of your ex's mind, and even if they don't reach out to you, in that 6 to 12 month mark, you might receive contact further down the line. Now listen, I have to be honest. If you don't hear from your ex within the first year or so post-breakup, the likelihood is that the chances are reducing. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. However, I also have to tell you that I have heard of many instances where a dumper has reached out to a dumpee years down the line. Now, this isn't about me giving you false hope. This is just telling the truth. Although I hear of it less, it does happen. So if you regrow romantic emotional attraction in your ex's mind, and their life is going quite well in their own opinion, they might not reach out during that 6 to 12 month mark where it is somewhat the average. But this could still play into your favour maybe a year later, a further year down the line, where your ex-bedumper's life isn't going so well. And when they self-reflect, they then come to a conclusion that this was an error of judgment, because it's been years perhaps since the breakup, but now they look at themselves and they wish they'd never done it. Now you as a dumpee might think, well, I don't want to be waiting around until my ex thinks that their life is so bad that they're going to come back to me. Well, that is your choice. But what I would say is we have to have a dose of reality. If you, them, me, if any of us feel our life is going brilliant, then why on earth would we want to change it? It's only when our life isn't going so great that we might consider taking a different path. So if your ex-bedumper went through this single life and they're really loving what they're doing, maybe for instance they've gone travelling around the world, if they're really loving it, are they really going to come back 9 months later when they could stay out there another couple of years? Are they going to do that, even if they're starting to miss you? I would suggest probably not, but you are still going to be in their mind for if and when they do return. Now, it could be connected to anything. Maybe they do start dating somebody else, and although they are kind of missing you in the background, they do like this other person as well, until they don't, until they realise that wasn't working. And then they might reconsider their decision. Now, this isn't all about them. They might come back to you, want to have a conversation, see how things go, and maybe you are loving your life without them. That might sound crazy right now, but it could happen. And if it does, you can say thanks, but no thanks. There is no pressure that you accept your dumper back. But please be aware when we ask ourselves the question, what is your ex-bedumper likely thinking after months apart? Well, point number 3 is crucial, because they will be asking themselves, is my life any better now?